Hi everyone, it's time for my little update number, I think we're on 5, maybe 6, I've lost count. So today I spent quite a few hours at the hospital. I took Max with me today just for a bit of moral support because I just wasn't feeling very well. And I haven't been well over Christmas and New Year. So today was supposed to be the education class with the nurse, but I managed to squeeze in a update with my consultant because I was poorly over Christmas. So basically today we looked at, if you'd have seen my story on Instagram, we looked at the units, what they look like for dialysis, the dialysis units, and we had a discussion on in the education class with the nurse as to what I knew about the equipment, if I'd made a decision, I should say, about what kind of dialysis I want to be on, the hemodialysis or the peritoneal dialysis machines, and how they would work. So I already know that I wanted home dialysis, so we kind of skipped forward to that, but a lot of it time was hanging around waiting. I think she realised that I was quite an informed patient because I'd agreed to tell her that I'd done a lot of research on my own, and I'm quite aware and about what I want, and there wasn't much she needed to cover. My question was one of the most important questions was why I had to wait till I have to be quite low down to receive it function wise, and the reason being, and obviously my consultant also reiterated this, the reason being is when you have a transplant, you create your body creates antibodies. So in layman terms, basically, if I have a transplant now, when I'm at what they call an okay level, still going downhill, but in medical terms still kind of okay, but they're prepping me now, then if it's too soon for the body to have a transplant, then I will create antibodies. And then what would happen was, I will feel better. I will probably have maybe 10, 12 years, maybe 15 if I'm lucky, but then I'd have to go through the process again, which then would put me on a second wave of going through the motions of finding a transplant. And because my body has already at that point, after it's received a first transplant, would have created antibodies, then it's going to be harder for another kidney to settle within my body. So and that goes for a second and third. Some people have 2 or 3 kidneys before as well later on in life, and plus I'm young, so technically I would then have to wait. I won't be as classed as urgent, so because I've already had 1 transplant. So that was the reason. So at least I got a straight answer, and it was also backed up by the consultant why I couldn't have one if somebody came along sooner. So also the process of going through it all is quite long, because it's about blood test, tissue match, counselling, and that's just not for me, it's for both parties. It's for the donor as well, because if you're coming forward to help someone, they want to make sure that you are of sound mind, you do know what you're doing, and if you can't help me, that you are quite happy to help someone else. So you would then, let's say you're not a match for me, you would then be put into a paired pool scheme, where if you're taking that huge step of helping someone, that they would want you to help someone else that you've instead of the person that you've come forward to help. And that is huge. So for some people, it has to be it has to be a very important decision to make, and to understand that you will, once you've taken that step, you will be put into a paired pool scheme, because that's how the whole thing works. So we hope that someone will come forward, like we still discussed today. And I asked a lot of questions about, how can I continue to get that message out into the BAME communities. And we'd already discussed with the consultant, after I'd seen the education nurse, that was pretty straightforward, really, if I'm honest. I really just wanted to get out there, and because I knew there wasn't much more she could tell me. The rest had to come from a consultant, so we had to have a bit of a wait to see my consultant. But she was brilliant. She had lots of information for me. She knew the type of questions I was going to ask, and she went straight to the point. So a lot of the information I had was given from my consultant rather than the nurses, because the nurses are trained to be vague. And the reason they're going to be vague is they want to make sure that they don't scare you with too many facts, okay? And every case is individual, and it's individual to you, and everybody's mental health is different. So everybody's affected differently. So it's as simple as that. So like I said to her, I want to know how I can help. I want to know that my kids and my future grandkids can make informed decisions. And when we talked about 20 years ago, breast cancer was never talked about. Nobody talks about feeling your boobs, making sure you had lumps, if you had any lumps and stuff. It took all, I'm still like griping about this because nobody talks about it. Families need to discuss. God forbid it happens to someone in your family, somebody you love, having to go through this. What decision would you want them to make? Whether would you want them to become a donor? Automatically, you are a donor, yeah, but you have got the chance to opt out. That is the law now. However, it's still up to the next of kin to give that permission, because it's a very hard question for a family to discuss. And even today, when I spoke to somebody close to me, it was very difficult to discuss. I'm like, you don't really need to be negative, because at the end of the day, I know somebody's out there for me, and my mind is full of information. It's all gobbledygook, but I know where I want to go with this. I want to raise this awareness. I want all the young people, the next generation, the millennials, as you call yourselves, to understand that you have got choices, and you can still save lives, even when you are 18 and over. You can make that decision, but do speak to your families and discuss it. It's a discussion to be had, because it's not just about, a kidney transplant. It's about an organ transplant. It's about giving blood. It's about all those other things that are involved, that can save life, and not just mine. And so today I've come away feeling a little bit better, although I was quite anxious because I didn't know what to expect. Because I have got bruising. I've got random bruising on my legs now. I don't know where they don't know where they've come from. It might be a side effect. It might be stress. I'm quite fatigued from my fibromyalgia. I'm in a lot of pain, chronic pain from my TMJ pain, which is causing more headaches. And this is probably all stress related, and the more we talk about it, it's always just there in the front of my head, and it'll never go away until I know that I'm going to be safe. Because at the moment I feel quite fragile, and I think, I don't want the life being wired up to a machine, but if that is where I was heading, then fine. But I'll go through it if it means that I can still feel better, because at the moment I can't do anything. I'm out of breath when I walk. I can walk for about 30 minutes and I'm completely wiped out. The cold has been really, really bad, and it's difficult. It's difficult. You get more bad days with this, and people, you know, seeing that I'm up and about and pottering around the house, and you know, it wears me out just to potter around the house, just to hoover. You know, simple tasks like that have become more and more difficult, and even like showering and washing my hair, as I said to the to the consultant today, it's getting more difficult, and she said it will get more difficult, but until I get down to like 15%, there's just no way that I can start the dialysis, because I know that the peritoneal dialysis will help, and it will make me feel better and give me that little bit of a push and a little bit of strength and energy that I need. But the best thing for me is to find a donor while I'm still fit enough to go through the operation. And the side effects that come with this operation, is not a risk-free operation for the patient or the recipient, or the donor. There are risks involved, like in any other operation, so it's pretty black and white. You really do have to know that you want to do this for me. Whoever you are, if you're out there, please step forward, because I'm not the only one who doesn't want the life on a machine. And the more patients I speak to, the more I realise that everybody, it's pretty distressing to be wired up to a machine. I showed you a picture of that on my Instagram, and all those wires, I was like, wow, okay, you know, that's what it is. And because I've chosen something that's is called peritoneal dialysis, I will have a tube that's constantly stuck to my, I'll have to have the operation to put it in. Once it's in, it'll stay in, and then I can have that for as many times, although that is a good option. You know, it's still quite scary, but I have a lot of reading to do, a lot of information about patient peer groups, support groups, a lot of people I want to reach out to that I have information for, to help support this cause. And it's just about education and educating a nation. And I'm going to still say it again, this isn't just for me, it's for lots of people. Again, the facts are right. The report that I received from someone, quite kindly, from work, was she managed to find me a report from that was a study from 2015 to 2020, which actually outlines all the facts and figures for the BAME community, compared to the rest. And I'm going to show you some facts, and once I've printed it and read through it, I will share that with you, so you can actually understand where my mind's at, because it's quite frightening that if anything happens to my kids later on in life, and I can't help them, that's gonna kill me. You know, you might who wants to watch their children suffer? And like I said, there's over 6,000 people in the UK waiting for an organ, and that is not just a kidney, it is everything. It's heart, pancreas, liver, kidney. And the more we talk about that, it also goes for bone marrow as well, and for blood. So giving blood is just as important, because it all ties in, so which I wasn't aware of, but all of it is tied in, and it's really, really important that people understand the hardship it puts a person through mentally, because I quite feel mentally drained, worrying, the constant worry of it. I have insomnia now, and I'm struggling at the best of times, and I know that I don't sometimes recognise myself in the mirror, and people will know that this isn't me. I'm not a person that is a complete mess. I'm usually very strong, and this is really, really hard. So please, if you can share my story, that would be great. We can find